Hi, I'm Ava, and I like to write poetry. The problem with writing poetry is it's a lot of writing, and it's a lot of creative thinking to try to think of new lines and new poems every single time. So then what did I do? I wrote 59,049 different poems.
Well, not exactly. What I did was I actually made a poem generating AI with 59,049 possible different combinations that a user can make using input. So there are 3 moods that a user can choose for each poem. With each mood, there's 19,683 different possible combinations that a user can create using the code. So the code starts off pretty much just asking the user for whatever mood they're feeling. I created a check function, which basically checks to make sure that the user's inputted either 1, 2, or 3. And this was a lot easier than just doing the while statement above every time the user has an input. It then goes through and asks the user to input 1, 2, or 3 for the word that they want to input. I use if statements to find out what the user inputted, and then that will determine what line is the line that is going to go into the poem. I made the poem using a list function, so I have a list called poem list, which is just the list of lines for the poem. And every time that there's a line being added to it, I just use a basic amend statement. And I do this over and over and over again. For each word that it finds, it also goes through the mood to see what mood it's correlated to. And it does this for a very, 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 very long time. And then once it's gone through all of the lines and all of the words that the user can pick through, I have a for statement that goes through the list of lines in order and puts them out in order. But for every third line, there is a new line so that there's kind of like spacing breaking out and it creates stanzas. And it's pretty simple. It just is a lot of coding. So for the most part, the program works the way that it should. If I run it, let's say I want to make a sad poem. I just go through and it works the way that it would, just alternating between 1, 2, and 3. And then there you go. There is a poem. One thing that doesn't work is if the user were to input something other than a 1, 2, or 3, like let's say we put in a letter, it causes an error and you don't get any poem, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that's just something that doesn't work. But other than that, everything works the way that it's intended to. I think the biggest challenge that I faced while making this is it's been a lot of typing and a lot of writing and a lot of having to think of creative things. And anytime that there's a line of code, I had to think of 3 possible words for the user to come up with. And then from each word, 3 different lines based off of different moods, and it all had to be stuff that could work with all of the different moods. And it was the biggest challenge was just like the amount of typing and creative liberties that it took to do this. I don't know if this code necessarily does anything particularly cool other than having 59,049 possible outcomes. One cool thing that I did is I did include this one little Easter egg where if the user picked rainy weather and their mood is romantic, it changes this one line of code, which would probably actually change the number of possible poems there are. So let me just do the quick maths here. So I'm currently editing this and I realized that I was screen sharing the wrong application when I was doing the calculator on my laptop. So to sum it up, to find the combinations that you have You multiply the possibility by the possibility every time that there are possibilities, because there are 3 words for every line. You would do 3 times 3, 9 times, and that gives you 19,683. Because of that one line being different in the romance poem and you having 4 options instead of 3, you end up having 26,244 different combinations just for the romance section. And if you add them all up together, you end up with 65,000 some poems. Okay, so Clara, what kind of mood are we feeling? Sad, peaceful, or romantic?
You look out in front of you, what do you see? It's a tree, nothing, or the ocean. What happened yesterday? A fight, something good, or a mistake? Where do you wake up? In bed, outside, or somewhere safe?
All right, Clara, your poem. The waves lap up the beach in flows of breathing. The sky holds the clouds with the promise of later cater life. The steady beating in my chest radiates through my body. My thumb traces a soft petal's arc in my palm, the soft warm blanket around me. The comfort of yesterday will sustain through today. There is nothing to follow us but the echoes of light. Here in my hand is everything I could want. My security lingers as I waken to your comfort. And there you have it. It's an AI code that makes poems. How cool is that? Not very. If I were to further this, I would probably make some website out of it so that it wasn't just something that I can only use on Python, but something that other people can access on as well.